So we're actually going to jump into some fun things. I mean, not that the data isn't fun. I mean, I really love digging into some of that stuff, and I can tell you in the about 30 seconds that I have until I kick off this particular part, one of the things that stands out to me in reviewing all of the information that we gather from schools and teachers and districts, there's things between the lines, and what we read between the lines is an evolution. And you can see it if you step back. If you step back from the data, you can see an evolution, and we're going to see evidence of that shift in the people that we're highlighting today. And what's fascinating to me is that through the lens of the folks that we're going to be highlighting that are award winners, we can actually see that as a business of education, we're moving forward, and that's awesome, because when you're in it, it's really hard to see that you're making any sort of movement. And this is a hope moment for us. This is a bright spot in our year, because we're here to share that you are moving forward and folks are doing this stuff, and that's awesome. So I'm going to hop into this because we do have quite a bit of stuff to get through. I want to recognize some achievers in this. We have several levels of award, and we're going to go through those. So the ABC Unified School District, Cerritos, California, definitely looking at responding to community pressures for greater flexibility and mechanization. They're getting the technology out there. They're getting the tech tools out there. They're getting students connected with those in a much more meaningful manner. And any of the conversations and questions that we've had about how do you do this, these guys are definitely one of those to look at and connect with and partner with. So ABC, thanks very much. Blue Valley Schools, Overland Park, Kansas. Shout out to you guys for definitely building those active blending learning pathways for the students. You're using the courseware and the digital tools in an embedded fashion, addressing those pressures from outside. We've talked about those all the way. One of their quotes is right here. It's committed to leveraging technology in meaningful ways. And they are. Another great example. These guys have some stuff figured out, for sure. Somebody to connect with, definitely. Yep. Whoops. Here we go. Canyon School District in Utah. These guys are also responding to demands for personalization, using voice and choice, all of the things that are contained within building a round experience for students. Again, as you'll notice in here, these folks are all using technology, right? They're all using technology to augment and amplify the learning experience, and they're also creating some efficiencies. Catalina Foothills School District, hats off to you again, responding to those community pressures, device deployments. They're jumping off the end of the deck and hopping into some shifts in practice. They've got pro-grade CTE software. They've got an LMS. They've got coding apps. They've got robotics. All the things are in place for these folks to start taking off. Hats off to you guys. DeKalb County Schools, our friends in Georgia. So we're looking at these folks. They're awarded as an achiever because what they're really focusing on now is expanding the walls of the classroom, thinking about time and space. You'll notice that as a trend in a lot of these award winners. They're really starting to look at how are we using information and resources to start moving things in a different way, and time and space is fluid for them. Epic Charter Schools and OK, personalization. Again, I'm going to say that word a lot today because these folks are using flexible time. They're using machines. The devices are taking some of the load off those teachers, and that's fantastic. Attract and retain students, big, huge. We should all be working toward that. Estacada, Oregon, back in my old stomping grounds. These guys, you were talking about rural schools. Estacada is not. They're out there, but they're doing some great things. They're changing expectations for what learning looks like in the community. They're using the courseware. They're using the interactive nature of whiteboards. They're talking about SEL and really utilizing the tools to start moving and getting those experiences moving forward much more quickly. Glendale in Arizona, a good partner district for us at the Learning Council. These guys are talking about blended course structures and then they're making those things happen. So they're experimenting with a new structure. Again, it's going to be time and space, and they're using the digital tools to leverage a lot of the power that you get from using the top tier types of software products. We've got two that I really want to sort of highlight today. These are sort of the top levels of award for us, and we've got one that's an innovator, and we've got another level on top of that, which is distinctive excellence. And what I want to do is actually highlight these top two, and I'm going to bring on our friends from Meriden in just a moment, but the folks at Meriden have really been using time differently, and I'm going to let them speak to what they've done and accomplished a little bit more. But I do want to highlight these folks. They have come leaps and bounds. We've been with these folks for a long time, and for me to step back and watch this happen, and then be able to facilitate them sharing their successes so that we can all learn, that's a golden moment. And so I'm going to turn it over to Barbara Hefner, and she is going to give us a little bit of information about what they're doing and where they are going. So if you've got some slides that I believe you're going to share. It's the Meriden crew. How you doing?
Good. Great to see you, Chris, Doug,
Absolutely.
and Lonnie. Thank you.
Yep.
And thank you for this prestigious honor and for all the work that we've been doing together over the years. Definitely creating some great results for our students and families. So thanks for your support along the way.
Absolutely. We're so happy that you're here, because this is as I said, it's a golden moment. We can all learn from you.
So I just wanted to start our presentation sharing a little bit about our district. So if we head to the next slide, we have 13 schools, just over 8,600 students. 75% of our students identify as students of color. 77% of our students receive free and reduced price meals. However, we're universal free breakfast and lunch. If you're hungry, you eat, and there's food available for you. We're now approaching 20% of our students qualifying for special education services, and 17% identify as multilingual learners. The next slide, we all know we can't educate our students this way anymore. Our classrooms cannot look like this. We also know that virtual and augmented reality really has put the world at our students' fingertips. And I just love this picture of one of our students who was experiencing virtual reality for the first time. Our guiding principle is, regardless of socioeconomic status or prior learning experiences, all students must be able to access digital resources. Our core values, number one, we all learn differently. Number two, voice and choice matters, and it matters for our students and our staff. Learning spaces need to be flexible. And our final point is, we must embrace anytime, anywhere learning. That's our final core value. And for us, we're very much driven by our data. So it starts with data collection. Then we spend our time analyzing that data. Then it's how are we going to use the data to drive our innovations. And for us, one of our key innovations has been our digital transformation. If we go to the next, next slide. And for us, it started, we had to get devices in the hands of our students, and it's been less about which device. We've tried them all. Right now, we're using Chromebooks, and it's more for price point, but for us, it's about getting devices in the hands of our students. And now we know our students are 1-to-1 plus for sure, with district issued devices in all the hands of our students. We also made sure that we had access for all of our students. Students sign out hotspots from the Media Center like they'd sign out a book in the Media Center. We've been fortunate to have terrific partners, digital partners. And for us, it's twofold. It's what digital content will we embed into our core curriculum, but also what digital content will be used for acceleration or remediation. And we're fortunate that we're in year 2 of a partnership with Code.org and Sacred Heart University, where all of our students in our elementary schools are learning the language of coding, which we call the new language. We also, it'd be impossible to do what we want to do without single sign-on. We use ClassLink as our single sign-on solution. And Next slide will show some of the small changes we made with our board policy. So it's important that also that our whole team is supportive of this movement, and that we have the support of our board and our families as well. And the board adopted much more student-centered goals and objectives for our students. Now I'm going to turn it over to Barb, who will share a little bit about our work and specifically talk about some of the changes we made in math to accelerate student learning.
So as a district that's very student-centered focus and very focused on an intentional use of technology to support our students, our math block at the elementary school was a great place for us to start. So we looked at our math block and we revamped it. One of the first things we did is we added additional time to the math block. So all students K through 5 get almost 90 minutes of math per day. We now teach math like most schools teach literacy. We start all units with a word web. Then students start each math class with a mini lesson that could be 15 to 20 minutes, which has students working together with the teacher on a word problem that's very engaging to the students. And they have different procedures and protocols as they follow, as they work through the word problem to learn different strategies and apply them. From there, our students will move into the center rotation. And if you look at the next slide, you'll see during center time, students could be working with a teacher. They could be working on ST Math, which this year what we've done is we've aligned all of the objectives in ST Math with our math curriculum K through 5. So when students are working at their desk, it is supporting what they've learned with the teacher. They may be working on fluency, and we happen to use Freckle for that, or they could be in an application center where they're doing that real world application. But most important for us during this time is that when the teacher is working with the students, they're working on grade level content standards. When the students are working on their own, we're really looking at students focusing on the strategies that they've learned, applying those strategies independently. And the software allows us to do some scaffolding for students who need additional support. So we really want to support the instruction through the use of technology. I would also be remiss if I didn't add the support of our instructional coaches. So they're there working alongside teachers at each of the grade levels, providing support as we do the planning process, but also if teachers need support in their classroom or they want something modeled, the coaches are there to do that for them. So that's really been instrumental as we move forward. As you can see, Mark mentioned that we're a very strong data-driven district. So this is the SBAC assessment, which is our state assessment. And you can see our achievement highlighted in yellow from grade level from 2019, which was our highest year of district performance, to where we were last year. So we've made some gains in some of our grade levels. And then on the next slide, you will see our percent target achieved by school. And if you look at our elementary portfolio, we've made some real significant gains in math. And these are due to some of the strategies that students and teachers have been implementing. I'll just mention at the middle school level, Edison Middle School is a middle school that's new to district. So we didn't have data from previous years. And we don't hide from our data. As you can see, Lincoln Middle School is an area of growth, and we've made some big changes there this year. And we're looking forward to better results as we move forward next year. But some of the great results that we've had at the elementary level have really garnered us national recognition. So the New York Times spent a day at one of our elementary schools learning how math is being taught now in the Meriden public schools. And then CBS News also spent a day in the district interviewing teachers and students. And that was a real nice highlight for all of the work that staff, students, coaches, and families have put in to show our math gains. And then most recently, ST Math has profiled us as part of their math practices on their website. So that was exciting for the staff as well. And I can assure you, Gigi is a very well-liked partner in the learning of math at the elementary school levels. But our innovation in the district doesn't only stop at math. The innovation continues. So now at all 3 middle schools, we have innovation labs where our students are coding, they're working with 3D printers, they're using CNC machines, and some are even building robotic hands. At both of our high schools, we just opened up AP lounges for our students who are in AP or at ECE advanced learning courses. And we've also opened up multilingual lounges for our multilingual learners. And the focus of both of these lounges is that students can have peer support as they're working on classwork during their study hall time. But both lounges are staffed with tutors that are able to provide support as well. And we also have an online option available to all students, but a lot of times students will maximize it when they're in either of these lounges. And we just happen to use Brain Fuse. And then our outdoor learning spaces, which were primitive when COVID first started, but now have really developed into true learning spaces that also include Wi-Fi access for students and teachers. In closing, I would like to thank the students, staff, and families for all of their hard work, but also for embracing the innovation that happens in our district. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank our business partners, our foundation partners, our curriculum vendors who are true partners with us, and all of the professional organizations that we work with on behalf of our students. And of course, a special thank you to you, the Learning Council, for this partnership and this prestigious honor.
Wow, thanks. That's amazing. So I was busily jotting notes down because what I hear is all of the things that are awesome. And so the next time I'm out in your neck of the woods, we're going to have to take a stroll through some of those innovation labs, because right now I'm jumping for joy. And I can think of at least this many people that I talked to yesterday that are looking for something like that to see. And we got to get those models out there. We absolutely do. I'm gonna ask a number of other questions of you, but then I also have the folks from St. Vrain, and I've got some group questions for you. So I'm gonna ask you to stay on, but really I want to ask one question before I shift gears. The shift in structure from a more traditional math instruction block to what then would be a workshop structure. How are you ascribing gains to that shift in structure?
I would say we see it in our assessment results. So whether it's the exit tickets that are in the classroom, whether it's our state assessments, this past year has really proved that the change that we've made is meeting students where they're at and really providing those higher order skills that students need to be strong in math.
And the students and staff, whether it's through climate survey data, they're much more comfortable in this model. Right.
And so what I find intriguing is that and we see it in workshop model everywhere. 4 C's, for example, is a collection of competencies that's built through the course of an application of a structure like that. But if you're talking about voice and choice, that workshop model fits very, very neatly into the concept of building agency and learner identity. So big hats off to you guys. Thanks. Stick around, because I've got some general questions that I want to ask both you and our friends from St. Vrain as soon as we get to the end. And then I'm going to open it up to the folks who I know are raising hands right now because they have questions of you. So thank you so much, Mark and Barb. Always love your work. And congratulations on your award. Very well deserved. And we love having you here as a partner. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
The next people that I want to bring up come from Colorado. Our friends in St. Vrain have been doing this, and I say this because it's all of the things that we're talking about. They've been doing this for some time, right? They are some of the folks that have some longevity in the movement toward personalized, flexible digital resource, leveraging all of the things that we're talking about. And these folks today are receiving our highest award, which is a fantastic opportunity for me. And it's an honor for me because I've been doing work with Cale Charles for a lot of years. And to, again, watch the progression of this particular school system, it's amazing. And you guys have done a lot. And I know that it's a team effort. But congratulations to you. This is the very highest honor that we can bestow, and you deserved it. You earned every piece of this. You're awesome. Yeah, that's the word that I can use. And thank you for your awesomeness. I know that you have some information to share, and I thank you for that. At the end of this, stick around because I'll have some questions of you that are specific, but I'm going to bring our Meriden friends back because there's some general questions as well. So, Cale, take it away. I'll hand it over to you.
Well, thank you, Chris. And we surely appreciate the recognition. And I'd also like to introduce Michelle Bourgeois. She's our Chief Technology Officer here, and definitely as the saying goes, my partner in crime as we go through this. We learned and have been practicing that the folks in technology and the folks in curriculum need to do everything lockstep. And it's been a great partnership that Michelle and I have enjoyed, and our students really have enjoyed, and our schools have enjoyed for the past 12 to 15 years. So yeah, we have a few, if it's all right with you, Chris, we have a few slides we'd like to go through. And if we could start at the beginning, I think maybe either Doug or Lalana are driving.
We can pull back to slide 1.
Slide 1.
I think we're on slide 16. There we go. Sorry to jump ahead. Spoiler alert.
Thank you so much. So we really believe that education is a catalyst for innovation and foundation. And it's something you'll hear us say again and again and again. We believe in having a really strong foundation and in really having innovation involved in everything that we do. So on the next slide, coming out of the one I want to ask, I ask everybody, and I'd ask the people that are online too here, is what lessons did you learn from the COVID pandemic? And one of the things that I spoke with our staff about, it's on the next slide, I wish I would have come up with this saying, is we're going to come out of this better than we went into it. We were really well prepared, I thought, to go into this, but we were going to come out of it better. And we never wanted to let a serious crisis go to waste. You can see the really smart people that came up with these quotes. And I don't want to make trite of anything that happened to anybody because it was tough during the pandemic for everyone involved. But we were determined, and it was part of what our guiding star, guiding North Light was to be, we're going to come out even better than this when we come in, than when we went into it. So some of the things that we discovered, and I think the national data would support this, and I'll let Michelle talk about technology.
Yeah, definitely. So some of the things we definitely thought about during COVID, but I actually thought about before COVID were what makes a successful system. And, there's a quote that I keep thinking about, that success is where preparation and opportunity meet. And I think that's what well positioned us to take the lessons we learned before COVID and bring them into probably one of the most trying times that our generation will see in providing a high quality education. And so in St. Vrain, what that meant was it really made us reflect on what were the essential elements of successful teaching and learning in our schools. And technology was a big piece of that. But it goes beyond just the hardware. It really goes into understanding how as a system we came together. So Cale and his curriculum team 12 years ago started working on what we call a guaranteed and viable curriculum by design, making sure that as a system we were ready to move forward. 10 years ago, we moved into the one-to-one space and started really working hard on making sure we had an equitable level of access for all of our schools. 8 years ago, we sat down and really defined at a granular level for our schools what it meant to be effective technology users and defining those essential conditions, and then driving our professional learning, driving our conversations with administrators and buildings around those 6 essential conditions. And then it's been 6 years, I think, since Cale, your team of instructional coordinators began kind of a focus on blended learning. So all of this really set us up well to be prepared for all of the things that COVID needed to keep us successful as a school system.
Yeah, thank you. And Chris, I want to point out just real quick, the picture that you see on the slide is actually one of our Agile classrooms. This is a French 4 space where you see one of our teachers there at one of our high schools. And in the background, you can see the students are remote. That we'll explain later on. But this is actual that we had going this year, and we'll explain about our advanced global interactive learning environment.
Yeah. And so the other piece that we talked about was learning. Yeah.
Go ahead, next slide. Thank you. So we actually had students that came out and during the pandemic and after the pandemic thrived. They learned valuable skills about how to be resilient. They improved in reading, they improved in writing, they improved in their math skills and innovation as we went through this. And I would say a lot of our districts across the United States would echo some of that. Certainly, you hear a lot about learning loss, but we didn't experience that to the extent that we did. And part of the reason is what some of the things that we've learned from the Learning Council over the years. And again, that idea of a strong foundation and along with innovation. We'll go to the next slide, please.
And so collaboration, I think, again, is a big piece of the considerations that all schools had to make. How do you make that tight collaboration happen? And one thing that Kayla and I joke about a lot is it's kind of like a marriage. A marriage, a successful marriage isn't a 50-50 partnership. It's a 70-70 partnership. And so I think that what we think about often is how do we ensure that we are deeply collaborating between curriculum and technology, between our schools and our resources that we make available, between our community and our system. And so those collaboration efforts, including bringing in, a well-designed online learning platform, a well-designed collaboration platform, giving our teachers in just the first week of COVID all of the resources they needed to do this at a high quality, so that the system didn't get in the way of the success of our students and the success of our teachers. The system was ready to support all of the great things that we know that good learning has to do to be able to support our students.
So some structural changes that I think all school districts have found, and certainly we found some of this, is that changes in the remote learning is part of what we do now. And again, you're going to see this is actually some of our agile classrooms going through that. More remote learning and getting used to it. This technology for our students is a way of life. It is not something that you do to them. It's not something that was done. We also found, nationally that our parents like to have the free breakfast, flexible schedule, something Leilani and I have talked about for years. That we are really starting to go forward with. And, we're from Colorado, and I don't know if we get as much snow as Chris does out in Wisconsin, but we get a fair amount. And guess what? We have no snow days anymore. We have online learning days, and that's part of our championship culture. That's part of academic excellence by design. We're not going to slow down our learning because the weather is bad outside. We have the technology now that we can have online learning days. And yes, our children can go sledding later on in the afternoon and all those fun things. But those are just some of the things that we have really looked at in terms of structural changes and also opening up their learning environment. Michelle and I and our superintendent, Dr. Haddad, don't want a student's learning or pathways to be bound by a brick and mortar setting. They should be able to really choose and ignite their curiosities in education. And with technology, with online learning, with blended learning, we definitely can help facilitate that for our students. Next slide, please. So this is just something, and I really appreciate what our colleagues from Connecticut were showing. This is, if you'll click on that link, it'll take us off the slide deck, and this is a Google Doc that's available for everybody. This is, I'm not going to go into the weeds on this, but this is really some good content that's shareable out to everybody in the audience for the Learning Council's use as well, on how we were prepared going in, and we put this out there so teachers would have resources about how do you do online learning, distance learning, whether it's hybrid, whether it's totally remote. What are some of the best practices out there? And we ground this in solid research. So in fact, even some of the lesson plan templates, they might look like Madeline Hunter templates. I'm going old school, but good is good. And they are really some great resources with this. Again, how do you do online formative assessments? What's the best practices with, we use WebEx. But again, having those type of things, choice boards for students. How do you create that online dialogue and conversations with students so that their experience is opened up beyond just when they're online or to a 24/7 learning environment? Again, we are committed towards igniting students' curiosity so that personalized learning can take place. So that is just something that you can look through that we put together. I won't go into the weeds on a lot of this. And yeah. And Michelle, anything else that?
No, I was going to say, the piece that I think that is really important there to think about, we not only gave our schools and our teachers the why, the best practice, and the instructional, because we know that great teachers know what great instruction looks like. We made sure that we aligned that with the resources we provided. So Kayla and I worked closely to make sure that every type of activity, every type of resource that we wanted teachers to be leveraging came with not only the philosophical and research-based instructional strategies, but also came with the support they needed to make those tools a success by design as a district.
So coming out of the pandemic, one of the things that we got better at was providing a learning environment for our students that was not bound by brick and mortar. And we call it Agile, Advanced Global Interactive Learning Environment. We have 3 approaches that you can see down there: a totally remote approach, a hybrid approach. And I'll speak to those, and Michelle will real quickly. That is really about what that idea of letting students create their own playlists of classes. That they like, oh, I really like what the class in biomedical science at this school, but I want to take my math class back at my home school, and I want to. So you can see, with our technology now that Michelle has provided, we have the ability to do that either at a total remote setting or a hybrid setting. And then with our paired mentor program, which our PD department loves, we have a mentor teacher which co-instructs with a new teacher in real time versus a mentor that has to meet during a planning hour, or they meet after school for coffee or something like that. And it has been a godsend for our new teachers to look at this paired mentor program through our Agile program. And Michelle, I'll let you continue.
And that peer mentor too, as Chris, as you were talking about preparing at you and Lenani both talking about preparing teachers for the new curriculum and the new needs that we have. This is the way that we're making that happen. Some of our best computer science teachers came out of other areas. A language arts teacher, a social studies teacher is now our director of computer science. And so finding those ways to help those folks elevate their passions into areas of need is where that paired mentorship. And this whole Agile program came out of the realization that geography shouldn't limit opportunity for our kids. And so as we're thinking about this as a district of 411 square miles, the opportunities abound. The limitation is sometimes making sure we can pair students with the passions and the opportunities that they see in their future. And so I think out of COVID, one of the biggest realizations we have is that is no longer a limiting factor, and our teachers are ready for it. I think the biggest success for us, we are finishing up our readiness year this year in our Agile program. And you'll hear me say readiness rather than pilot, because this is not something we hope might happen. This is something that will happen. And so we're getting ready to really scale. The 4 teachers who helped us get this started this year, French 4, macroeconomics, computer science, and what am I missing? There's one other. You get the idea. The 4 teachers who came in with us this year, not only are coming back into this program next year, but we have 3 times the number of courses that are going to be offered. So setting up that by design program, making sure that our teachers know that the support is there and that they are partners in helping us design the best system possible, has given us the momentum that we know this will continue to grow, not only in St. Vrain, but also expanding out to other opportunities in districts. So our rural districts who may need support in some of the advanced areas that we want them to have as well. There's no reason we can't open this up and make this a universal opportunity across all of our state.
Very good. So a little bit about, so innovation is a big part of what we do in St. Vrain. And we'll go on to the next one, please.
Yeah, so thinking about innovation for us, and I really appreciated hearing about Meriden and some of the places that they're innovating, because I think there are some commonalities that we see across all innovative districts. And for us, it's really thinking about what's next. What do we need to be preparing our students for so that we're preparing them for their future, not necessarily our past or even our comfort. And so what you'll see here are a list of some of the areas in which we're really focusing our efforts and making sure our students are ready. So our Medical and Bioscience Academy and our Biomedical Sciences Academies are actually a part of a larger program with PTech, where our students can come out of high school not only with their diploma, but with an associate's degree at no cost to the student in these areas. So we're not only preparing students for a future higher learning opportunity, we're giving them career opportunities with an advanced degree as they leave our system. Pairing them with mentors. We are lucky to have Cisco and IBM and a dozen other partners who are part of this. So our students actually get industry experience and mentorship from folks who are in those fields. And of course, we all see the coming horizon of advanced technology, robotics and virtual reality. And the talk of the day is around artificial intelligence, preparing our students not only to understand the technologies, but to be ready to design and invent the future of these technologies. It's where we're focused. So next slide.
So we always talk about charting your own course, and this is just a quote. Where do you want to go? And this is some of when I talk with districts, Kristen, you and I have talked about this too. It really depends. I think that we have a great opportunity in education now to chart our own course and really, who do you want to be? We asked that again 10, 12 years ago about who do we want to be as a district? And Michelle's going to talk real briefly overview of what we did that still guides us to this day.
Yeah, so, we talked about our one-to-one starting 12 years ago, and you can head on to that next slide. What we did is we started our one-to-one program, and I think it's a valuable thing for districts to even do today. Rather than starting with the what, we started with the why and the purpose of technology in the classroom. And so we spent almost a year with a committee of parents and teachers and department leaders, students, and we focused on two essential questions. One, what are the actions that should be happening in a high-quality classroom? What do we want instructional technology actions to look like? What are teachers doing? What are students and teachers doing together? What are parents doing with effective technology use? So those actions we defined. And then we talked about attributes. When you walk into any classroom in our district, what are the attributes that space should have to support the types of actions that we said were priorities in learning for us? And so out of that actions and attributes, if you go to the next slide, came to a vision statement. And this vision statement was set at the beginning of our learning technology program and still guides our work today. And you'll notice it's really driven by the types of actions that we want to see happening. When we identify new resources, we hold it up against this statement. When we identify new curriculum opportunities, we hold it up against this statement. When we look at our professional development, we hold it up against this statement. So making sure that this is our North Star in how technology and learning come together to support student success.
Thank you, Michelle. And we'll go on to the next one real quick, please. I want to give a little bit of context for this. I sit and I get to go the opportunity to a lot of these really good webinars, conferences, and I hear about innovation. I hear about project-based learning. And I always wonder, I said, yeah, but there's still that reality of test scores and how are you doing and how are you measured? And this is not meant to pat us on the back. I'm just saying you can do both. In fact, the more innovative you become, the better you're going to become with a lot of those things. So you can see from what is going on in preschool to coming out of the pandemic, our 3rd and 5th grade reading scores were the highest on our record. We're outpacing the state in many of the things that we're doing. All of our standardized test scores, CMAS is an acronym for what we use in Colorado. All of these things are growing coming out of the pandemic in an online learning environment. Next slide just shows some more data that we have about this, about some of the increase that we've seen in AP, students taking AP classes, AP board. I find it fascinating in terms of concurrent enrollment. That is our students taking both a college course and getting high school credit and college course. You can see how much that has increased. And those are students who are passing in classes with C's or above, are taking those classes. Graduation rates. Look at our graduation rate, how it has climbed. And this is at a time, and this is also for our minority, our Latinx students. This is at a time when our graduation requirements actually increased. we actually added another year of math, another year of English as part of our graduation rate. So during the same time, this is something that, again, I think it's important sometimes to look at your results.
So as Kale's saying that, just to make that point even more clear, we have some of the highest, if not the highest, graduation rates in the state of Colorado, and our expectations of students to be able to graduate, the number of credits that they're required to have, are higher than any other district in our state. And so, asking students to do more is the perfect way to make sure that we also achieve at a higher level. Next slide.
Our dropout rates actually correspond to that. You can see that the trend line is going the way we would like that for dropout rates as well.
Mm-hmm.
Next slide, please. Expulsion rates, again, trending way down as we've gone through this. Which, we had a little uptick last year, but still, if you can see where we were in 2012 when we started this journey to where we are now, it's about engaging students. It's about getting them involved in their learning.
And that timeline that you see for all of these correlates to the time that Kale and I started partnering together, starting to build our technology program, starting to build our unified curriculum. So what we're seeing is the innovations are accelerating the achievement of our students. And I think that's what we're most proud of, for sure. So last slide, back to the beginning. Back to the beginning.
We really are committed now. And this has been some of the inspiration that Leilani, Chris, certainly you have given as well around really looking at workflow, really about creating that personalized experience for students so they can create it. So again, I go back to the idea of playlists. Our students are starting to create their own playlists, at least at the high school levels where we're starting, and really looking at letting them click through that pretty quick. We don't want students to have to, seat time is a really antiquated term for us, and we really want students to be able to go through classes as fast as they can, or as slow as they need to, and be able to have that real personalized learning. So thank you for letting us talk to you about this. I really enjoyed the presentation from our friends from Connecticut too. Boy, they've really got a lot of good things going on as well. A lot of good stuff.
So I'm going to ask those guys to hop back on as well. So there you are, Mark and Barb. So before I hop into some general questions, one of the things that I flagged as I was listening to you, Michelle and Kale, was the by design. By design came up more than 5 times in the conversation. I could probably put it on more than 2 hands. And what I find remarkable about that is that the design caused the results, and it isn't an accident that the results in St. Vrain and in Meriden look the way they do. They look that way because they were designed to do that, and you didn't just sort of stumble into these things. It actually was intentional. And if I could just highlight that for anybody listening, just design it. Create the plan, create a long-range vision for that stuff. Because clearly here's 2 examples of it works. So now we've talked about all the things that you've done, and we don't have a whole lot of time, but I do want to make sure that I ask a couple of questions, because there's things that I know that people will want to take away. Not only did you have great successes in the things that you've each individually done, which are remarkably similar, and we sort of got a glimpse of where you came from. What I'd like to ask both, and you can take turns, where are you going now? So what's the next horizon based on the successes that you've experienced? Where's the horizon for you? Where are you going next? I'll start with Mark and Barb.
So I think you never know exactly where you're going next, but what I do know that we need to do is we need to make sure that, for us, I could have shared a very similar slide on graduation rates going up. Our next work needs to be really looking at what are our graduates leaving us with, and do they truly have the skills they need to navigate life? And that may be college, that may be a career setting. So we're spending a lot of time really looking at, are they leaving with skills and certifications that can launch careers for them? Are they leaving with skills to truly be most successful in college pursuits? So that's definitely a key tier of work for us. The other area at the elementary level is really, we've worked so hard on world languages. Now I really think the language of coding is going to open up opportunities to students. So what can we do? If we embed this at the youngest grades, how will that move up to our middle and high schools moving forward?
Nice. Nice. That's awesome. And you're treating it sort of as an experiment, right? You have an idea, you're testing your theory. We're using the Plan, Do, Study, Act structure very clearly, and that's awesome to see it in action. I love that. Fantastic. Kayla and Michelle, what do you think? What's on the horizon for you?
One of the things, and to echo what Mark said, it was that opportunities for students. Opportunities to expand in what they're doing. We have 3 P-Techs in our district. We're going to open up our 4th. And, when you have students that are going to be graduating with a high school diploma, an associate's degree, a paid internship, and first in line for a job, let's say at IBM at 60 grand a year starting pay, that's opportunity. And those are some of our first graduating class. That is first generation, not only high school graduates, but college, any type of that type of opportunity. And I heard Mark talk about certifications and talking about pathways. That's where we're headed. And Chris, we are absolutely, Michelle and I have a heart, so is our superintendent, Dr. Don Haddad, for a couple of rural districts that we've identified that we are going to give them this Agile program and provide them with technology. And we don't want any of their money. We just want their students to be able to have an opportunity to take advantage of a larger district and what we can offer. And that's going to be part of it as well as we're moving on with this. Really, again, we have a deep commitment to letting students look at content, which is important, but use that content. What are they going to do with it? And providing those opportunities. That's what ignites curiosity. That's really where personalization will come.
I love it.
So I like that terms like inspiration and ignite are being thrown around in this conversation with 4 very respected colleagues. And what I am sort of encouraged by, I guess, is that we're a community, and Kale, you're talking about adopting some folks, and that's fantastic. And the fact that we should, in a virtual room, be sitting around throwing great ideas at the world and showing evidence of their efficacy is fantastic. And where else does that get to happen, right? As educators, this is kind of what we do, and we're in a community. We're all in this together. You're in Connecticut, and you're in Colorado. I'm in Wisconsin, under 2.5 feet of snow, and yet here we are collaborating and sharing ideas and pushing on hard topics. It doesn't get any better than this. It's fantastic, and this makes my day. This whole day is a celebration. I'd like to close this out with your advice for someone who's starting out this journey. And I'll start with Barb and Mark. And what would you offer for someone who's just like, oh my gosh, you're so far, you're light years away from where I am. How do I just get off the floor? How do I start? What's the one thing? I have this. Awesome. Great book. If you don't have one, hit Amazon, because what's the one thing what are you gonna do? Where do you start? I'll turn it to you, Barb and Mark. What's your advice?
Sure. So I would say try something. It doesn't matter if it's successful or not successful. Just try something. It could be a low-hanging fruit and then build on the success from there. But don't overthink it. Just do it.
Nice. Kayla,
Love it.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. Go ahead.
No, Kale and Michelle can go. I would have echoed what Barb said. Jump right in. There's never, we can't be afraid to try things because we think they may fail. That's how we get our greatest successes, are through those failures. So jump right in, try something. And your students and staff, they'll be your guides. They'll let you know if this is trending in the right direction, if this is good for student learning.
Nice.
Love it.
Love it.
I was going to
Trust.
say, I would add to that because I think it absolutely is. Take that one brave step. We have a statement that stands on our DTS wall that says, what is your next imperfect step? Because we know that progress comes in fits and starts, and it's reminding ourselves that the first step may not be our perfect step, but it gets us closer to where we want to be and where our vision is going to take us. And then the other piece I'd add is focus on relationships. If you know what your industry partners are talking about and asking about, if you know what your community is aware of and sees as a future need, you know where your students desire to go, and you know what your teachers are talking and saying, those relationships are what will drive your vision forward. So if I were going to start anywhere, it would be to start with those relationships, because that is going to be key to the success of any program.
And part of that relationship, and you go back to my Alice in Wonderland slide, is that find your path. And that's your underlying principles, and that's what you consider important. And to echo what Barb said too, is that go forward, keep going. I'm sure Mark and Barb never get any pushback from things.
Never.
When we get it, we listen. We sometimes make adjustments because it's kind of like, oh, that's a really good idea, but it's not stopping us. We keep going forward. It's not about if we're going to do Agile. It's about how fast we're going to do Agile. That's what I tell everybody. It's not about if we're going to do this. It's about how fast can we get it done in an excellent by design manner. So I love what you guys are doing. And it's great to meet you virtually even.
So
Great to meet you guys as well, and thank you for a terrific presentation. And we always like to steal great ideas from others, so thank you.
It's great. So can I just wrap up? One thing came out of that, and I know that it's a sticking point for folks, and I am stealing a little bit of a time. I'm using time and space flexibly right now. But when we do get pushback, what I heard you say was setting expectations, and correct me if I'm off base. But what I heard was set expectations based on vision. Is that accurate?
That would be accurate. Yeah, absolutely, Chris. And Michelle and I just got out of a meeting with our very visionary superintendent, Dr. Don Haddad, and he talked about you're not going to always be liked as a leader. And that's okay. If you go into being a leadership and you want to be liked, you're not giving the opportunity for your people to reach their full potential. And that's some of the things we have to do. Being a leader, it can be tough. It really can. But if you have, Chris, very well said, by the way, those expectations, that vision, you have a well thought out action plan, you have incentives built into it, it's going to be great. Sure, you'll make adjustments. Who doesn't? But you keep moving forward with that. And also, one of the things too is that be ready to backfill. Have systems in place that you could. It doesn't matter if I'm here, if Michelle's here, Chris, if you're there, that we can plug and play people. We have that built in, because the quickest thing that will destroy a school system is when leadership leaves. I think Jim Collins talked about it in Good to Great, and then there's nothing in there that has that vision to keep those systems going.
Interesting. Yeah. Any thoughts on that, Mark?
No, I think we have our meetings and we'll say to each other, don't tell us all the reasons why we can't. Give us one reason why we can, or a reason why we need to.
Yeah, that's all brilliant. And because I know, and I ask this question because I know for sure in our list of attendees today, there are at least 3 colleagues that are facing some push from folks, and that's a tough place to be. It is a hard place to be, but my counsel, like yours, is start with the expectations, and it's not if we're going there. It's going to happen. It just is. It's our job now to figure out how to make it happen and be successful, and then sustain it. And I really appreciate that. You're very clearly very adept at doing that, because you're moving large systems forward, and it's not fits and spurts. You're moving your whole system forward, and I congratulate both of you for that. And I thank you for continuing to be partners with the Learning Council and with me personally. I can't thank you enough. So thanks again. Stick around. We've got a lot more stuff going on. But all 4 of you, if you have time, please stick around and hop into the conversation and add to the thinking, because we've got a lot more coming. I'm going to turn the the virtual stage over to Leilani here in just a moment, and she's got a little bit of more information to share. And then we have more highlighting of professionals coming today. So if you're listening, now's a great time to, grab that glass of water, get ready to roll, because we've got some more stuff coming. So again, Michelle, Kale, Mark, Barb, thank you so much. And thanks so much for being here.